This presentation is to explain theories and leadership model variables within the leadership framework and how to apply path goal theory in a classroom setting. First one is the contingency leadership theory. The contingency leadership theory supposes that a leader's effectiveness is contingent on whether or not their leadership style suits a particular situation. According to this theory, an individual can be an effective leader in one circumstance and an ineffective leader in another one. To maximize your likelihood of being a productive leader, this theory posits that you should be able to examine each situation and decide if your leadership style is going to be effective or not. In most cases, this requires you to be self-aware, objective, and adaptable. To understand this theory, we'll look at Fiedler's model. This model states that three important factors contribute to situational favorableness. To be productive, leaders must consider these factors. However, this theory also considers leadership styles to be fixed and unchangeable. Therefore, if a leader's style is not a good fit for a particular situation, they will need to be replaced by a different leader. To apply Fiedler's theory, you have to determine your leadership style and your situation's favorableness using Fiedler's model. Using Fiedler's model, you must complete the LPC scale, which essentially answers the questions: are you task-oriented or relationship-oriented? After determining your style, determine the situation favorableness. If the LPC leadership style matches, you may be successful. However, if the style doesn't match, you may be ineffective. One option is that you change the style, but Fiedler recommends to change the situation. Two meta-analyses conducted. The research tends to support the model, although not for every situation and not as strongly for field studies. Another criticism is that Fiedler says that leaders should not change their style, but the context of the job should be changed. Fiedler's model also doesn't teach us how to change your job context. Despite the criticism Fiedler has helped contribute to the other contingency theory, it has applications that can be used to answer questions about the leadership of individuals in different types of organizations. It can explain why a hardworking manager is not effective in a specific job. Robert Tannenbaum and Warren Schmidt developed the contingency theory in 1950. They stated that leadership behavior is on a continuum from boss-centered to subordinate-centered leadership. Their model focuses on who makes the decision. The leadership continuum model is used to determine which one of 7 styles to select based on the use of boss-centered versus subordinate-centered leadership to meet the situation and to maximize performance. The continuum theory looks at 7 levels of delegation from 1, which is no delegation, to 7, which is highly delegated. Before selecting one of the style, leader must consider the variables of boss, subordinate, and situation. Although this model was very popular, but it didn't go under research testing like the contingency leadership model, one criticism is that 3 factors to consider when selecting a leadership style is very subjective. In other words, which style to use when is not so clear. The path goal theory leadership was developed by House in 1971, which is based on an early version of the theory by M.G. Evans. House attempted to explain how the behavior of a leader influences the performance and satisfaction of the follower. The path goal leadership model is used to select the leadership style: directive, supportive, participative, and/or achievement-oriented. This theory is based on motivation theories of goal setting and expectancy theories. The path goal model is used to determine employee objectives and to clarify how to achieve them. It focuses on how leaders influence employees' perception of their goals and path they follow toward goal attainment. Based on the situation factors in the path goal model, the leader can select the most appropriate leadership style. For example, leaders can choose to directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented. Path goal theory is considered broad in scope. House referred to this as value-based leadership theory. It also provides useful ways for leaders to think about motivating followers. According to the critics, the path goal theory is significantly greater than chance, but results were quite mixed. It is also difficult to know which style to use when. Judgment calls are required to select the appropriate style as well. Kerr and Jeremy in 1978 proposed a substitute for leadership theory, claiming that subordinate individual characteristics, task, and organizational factors and characteristics can provide guidance and positive effect for employees, influencing the effectiveness of leadership. Substitute leadership theory makes leadership style unnecessary or redundant. Highly skilled workers do not need a leader's task behavior to tell them how to do their job. These substitutes are of 2 types: substitutes and neutralizers. Substitutes take away from the leader's power and help group members increase their performance, while neutralizers only remove influence from the leader. Characteristics of followers, the task, and the organization are 3 variables that may substitute or neutralize leadership by providing task-oriented direction or people-oriented support rather than a leader. Research says that overall theory is supported. However, the theory does have its critics. Research has found support for some aspects of the theory, but others have not been tested or supported. Critics pointed out that for many of the substitutes, the behavior of the formal leader is merely replaced by the similar leadership behavior carried out by informal leaders. So leadership still exists anyways. As a teacher, while I'm working with teenagers that require discipline and patience, the path goal approach would be proper to use if applied sufficiently in the right moments. We know that the principle of path goal is about how the leader inspires followers to achieve designated goals. In an educational setting, I think I can become an effective teacher if I know my students' obstacles and know when to interfere with guidance, motivation, purposes. As a teacher, when I experimented on maintaining their attention and having them complete appointed assignments, I believe I oriented back and forth between directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-oriented behaviors. I choose to be directive and assign homework with due dates and a clear procedure to follow that I have already taught them in the class. How to complete the worksheet assignment is the moment when I choose to be directive. While directing them, I have to bear in mind that they are teenagers and can easily defy the rules I set. So directive behavior is the only the leadership behavior that will lay down the expected framework. I would say that as a directive leader, one must demonstrate a clear set of rules and regulations for successful performance. Once the classroom structure has formed, I can demonstrate supportive and participative behavior. Supportive leadership behavior comprises being friendly and accessible as a leader and acknowledging followers' well-being and human needs. The opportunity to apply supportive behavior is during the first 10 minutes of my teaching time when we review the homework. If a student did homework, I would try to talk about the concern and hold that they may have that they may kept from doing the work. At the end of the lesson, I would invite them to discuss theme and share their cultural experiences related to the lesson. By inviting them to select topics freely, I demonstrate participative leadership because I incorporate their input in the lesson that is also meaningful for the student. I also involve my students in establishing classroom roles. Teachers can display participative leadership by encouraging students to engage in the decision-making process as well. Supportive behavior also consists of treating followers as peers and acknowledging their rules. While answering my students' questions, I would often give examples of similar situations from my childhood when growing up in Florida. Comparing my childhood helped me build a strong bond with my students because they knew I experienced most of the things they were going through when I was their age. Teaching my students tactics I use at their age to build their learning habits encouraged them a lot. I choose to demonstrate achievement-oriented leadership by announcing the competition prizes at the beginning of each semester. Again, the act of announcing plans ahead of time would go back to the portrayal of directed leadership behavior. For example, if a student answered correctly the most questions I would ask during the competition, they would get a prize. Since I was aware that teenagers could be picky with prizes, I would let them choose ahead of time what they wanted to win. By doing this, I demonstrate achievement-oriented leadership because I ended up challenging my students to perform the best they could to win what they wanted. Research says that achievement-oriented leaders display a high amount of confidence that followers can set and achieve demanding tasks. Through this module, I learned that different situations require the application of different types of leadership behaviors. As a teacher, I need to make sure to choose leadership behavior that fit my students' needs during a variety of differentiated situations requiring direction, guidance, and coaching, all in the hopes of making sure they successfully meet set expectations of the classroom.